can you find that gear that you found at Homestead not being motivated? That's what we're going to find out about Tyler Reddick when we get to this championship race. Can Tyler Reddick find the gear that he had at Homestead and motivate himself to find those last 8 laps?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go on to California's Kevin Harvick does it. Tree making right there. You're the man.
Welcome to Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour, presented by Nascar Box. I'm Kevin Harvick. She's Kaitlyn Vincie. He's Cal Naughton.
He's Cal Naughton. This is Ricky Bobby.
Listen, we were supposed to just run and roll, but I can't even do it. I can't do it. I mean, you got red bottoms with this Wonder Bread outfit. It's pretty great.
So, I'm not sure whose idea the whole onesie was.
It was
but
yours.
I know exactly whose idea it was.
I don't think it was a great idea now that we're having to execute the promise. But here we are. So
yeah.
Oh.
Nope. Get in there. They got it right out of the gate.
Like that. Yeah. That's right.
If you're just listening and not watching, they have Halloween costumes on. Kevin and Mamba do, of course, from Talladega Nights. I don't have a costume on, and there is a backstory to this because by the time I realized I needed to order it, the Carly Bobby costume was backdated till November 5th. It's pop. I mean, she's a popular lady, a character, if you will.
I think that it's more popular now that you actually live in your own house, your character's house.
That is so funny.
Now
living
in,
I bought that house, and really, I didn't really think that it was that big a deal. I guess I underestimated the power of the movie, but apparently it's tightly associated with NASCAR and things that we do for people in the outside our NASCAR community. But we're not doing ourselves any favors sitting here in these outfits.
Well, considering Delana bought these, I mean, I guess she's bought into the costume.
Mine's obviously from a different country. The flags are backwards.
Logos are wrong.
Mine is legit. Look, mine has the nice Sunoco logo right here, and then the Goodyear one. His looks like aftermarket. It just says Goodyear and with 2 words. Like it's not.
Mine is extremely big too.
Yes, it is. I think
my
that's
outfit is
2 sizes too big.
My pants aren't too long, but. But other than that, it's a little oversized.
Hey, Old Spice, I got you.
Yours is working for you. You're really into it.
I love it.
I mean, this wouldn't surprise me if you showed up in something like this and didn't have
in regular
to be Halloween.
life. Yeah, totally.
Well, you know what?
He said he might go out in it tonight.
I might.
I'm wearing mine.
Fit.
I'm going. I've never dressed up with my kids. I'm dressing up this year.
People are gonna crack up. If
That'll
they see
be great.
So if you see me out, just leave me alone.
If you see
me out, just leave me alone.
If you see Kevin Harvick out,
it's true. I don't want to talk to you.
No autographs, please. No
right.
autographs.
Oh, man. Well, I love you guys are in the Halloween spirit. Okay, guys, it's episode 69 today. If you can believe that. And we have so much to discuss following the race this past weekend out at Homestead-Miami Speedway. I mean, I just want to start at the closing laps of this. We'll get into Tyler Reddick and a deep dive on what that means for the team advancing. But when you were sitting there watching it, I stood up. I mean, it was one of the best closing sequences I've seen in a long time.
I was right there with you. We were actually eating dinner, and I had to stop eating and go over and watch the race because I was really not expecting Tyler to be in position just with that little bit that he had on his tires and those scuffed tires and everything that was in this scenario. But I honestly thought it was over. I really thought Blaney would go in there, protect the high line, and Tyler would try some sort of crazy slide job, and he'd drive back under him and drive off the corner. But that is not what transpired there. But we had Tyler Reddick on the victory lap this week, and I just, that grit and determination. He had the trouble with his pit crew early in the race. Not really his pit crew, just getting out of the pit stall, and they kept getting beat off pit road. Gave him a great speech of confidence to say, hey, just shake it off. And then we get to this last sequence right here, and he is up against the fence, just ripping the fence. And Blaney just leaves 2 lanes open on the top coming to the checkered flag, which just totally blew me away.
Yeah, and I mean, our guy kind of called it, right? He'd been saying on last week's episode that Reddick was. What's wrong?
I'm hurt.
You're sad for your friend Ryan Blaney.
Well, I mean, I'm happy for Reddick. I'm hurt for because now we have to go win Martinsville for my championship pick to be accurate.
Yes.
And I've been really calling it. I really felt like Homestead was where it all set up for Ryan last year. and it looked like it was about to do the same thing. And that was honestly one of his best races, I think, because he qualified kind of deep. They made their way through the pack quickly. Got points in both stages.
Yeah.
And then on the restart, he lost the lead. Oh man, that looks like it's gonna be Denny's race. And then Ryan took it back. And I'm like, damn, he just threw it up on the dash and went off and got it. And then Reddick was like, hang on, hold these, and threw his out the window and ran around the top. Like, I'm just like, golly. But the race was amazing to watch.
It was.
And I saw a lot of people being like, man, imagine if that was for the championship. And I'm like, we have great championships races sometimes at all the racetracks, but like you can kind of pick one out from everyone. But I agree, it would be amazing. It was hot. It was
Still makes that point of moving it around, that championship race.
You know, I think Homestead has put on great races for years, and I think that it's the thing of people wanting to see something different, right? Mm-hmm. And then it goes away for a while, and people
want to see it again.
Want to see it come back, and I think that's the power of possibly rotating this race around. And I've heard some people talk, well, we rotated the All-Star race around. The All-Star race is not.
It's not the same.
It's not the same as a full length race, and we're talking great markets, Vegas, Homestead, Phoenix, to be able to rotate these races around. We've seen the High Groove work great at Vegas, and things have great finishes there. We've seen great finishes at Phoenix. I think we can, to your point, have great finishes at any of the racetracks, and you know we've had great racing this year on all different styles of racetracks. Sure. So I think Homestead, that Miami market, warm weather, it just promotes a great place to end the season. Phoenix, same way. Yeah. So I think it's there's definitely something to that final race rotation and keeping it mixed up. You got one short track, you got a couple mile and a halves. But as I said this week, Homestead is not your typical mile and a half racetrack. It is much different than the other mile and a half racetrack.
Homestead has to be happy with the product they put on yesterday, no doubt about it. So Tyler Reddick, this is such a cool story, of course, of how he had to fight tooth and nail to get into this round. He had some misfortunes, obviously, in the round. Now he locked his spot into the championship 4. First time he's ever been, which is always cool to see a new team make it that far. 23XI is not even that old of a team to already have achieved this feat as well. Michael Jordan's involvement as well. Oh, and by the way, they're suing NASCAR. So there's so much here with this story that's pretty unusual. But what impressed you the most about what Tyler Reddick did?
I just like the guts. After last week, it would have been very easy for him to just kind of settle in. But I think he knew that it was probably a must-win type scenario. At least that's how it looked.
And he raced like that at Vegas too.
He raced the exact same way that he raced at Vegas, and the outcome is a spot in the championship 4 and a chance to race. So for Reddick, you see that way out really quickly, right? You saw the other side of it last week at Vegas that didn't work out for him, and this week, that gutsy mentality to just screw it, we're going to go for it, worked out, and now they're in the championship 4. So I think for me, I think we all like to see the Michael Jordan reactions and really just neat. How into it he is with his race team. It seems like he gets more and more into it the more intense that it becomes. Mm-hmm. And we've not all of us are old enough to know, but most of us are old enough to have seen those Michael Jordan moments when he didn't feel well, or it was at the end of the game, or that shot. And those, I think, from a professional athlete standpoint. And I'll use Kaitlyn as an example. When he does something and it's like that last lap or that bump and run or whatever that is, I think for Michael, it's kind of the same way with his guys. To see them to be able to succeed in those moments like that just gives him that buzz to come along with owning the race team. And he shows it. He shows that emotion and his excitement.
I'm going to say, look, watching it, because Bubba is so supportive of what Tyler Reddick and that team is doing. Like every time they do, whether it's qualifying on the pole or winning the race, like you see him right there very shortly after. And it's almost like, a little bit of that Jordan Pippen thing going on. Like iron sharpens iron. Like Bubba's gotten better because Reddick is there, but Reddick has now gotten better because he has a good teammate in Bubba Wallace that can, they can help each other setup wise and driving style. So watching them is great, and watching MJ.
I called him a little, or he's like little kid.
That little kid did it. And I'm like, man, that is because MJ
just slings him around like a little
kid. Him up with one hand. You know what I mean? And I just love how much Michael loves it. And the more that he shows that, more people are going to love this too and understand why it's great. Because we've talked about it before. You got to go to the track to understand why it's great. You can't just see it from
And in the victory lap today, when we filmed this, I had just done the victory lap. But when I interviewed Tyler, I mean, you could see the relief. I wish I could explain to people just how much pressure comes with these last 10 weeks. And when you finally succeed and get to that Final Four, it is such a relief, because really that's what you race for all year, is to put yourself in a position to race for a championship. And that's the hardest part, is just getting there. The race itself in Phoenix and that weekend is not like the other 9 races. Right. It is just a totally different pressure than the other 9 races, because of the fact that it's just one race. You're going to win or lose. You've got to beat 3 other guys, and you've got one track to focus on. These guys have been through the gauntlet with the different styles of racetracks and the stress of the ups and the downs that come with playoffs. And being able to do what Tyler Reddick did last week, flip over, crash, basically put himself in a must-win situation, just shows you how good these guys are at being able to let last week go. Whether you win or lose last week, you just let it go. And you can look at Logano the same way, right? Like they're just out there flopping around because they're focused on Phoenix. Right. And when you take your focus off of those details that set up for each week and everything that comes with that, when you let off just a little bit, you run like Logano did last week compared to the guys that have to go out there and they're fighting for their life. But that really shows the difference in the details that go with the guys that are in it, because at one point they were all up there except for Logano, kind of battling for the lead.
I heard Tyler tell you, he said he thinks he should just race every week, like he's got his back again, backed into a corner. Based on what you've seen out of him in these clutch moments, do you think he could very well be the guy this year?
Well, you got to find out. We're going to find out, because we talk about this all the time, and we've had this conversation on this show about the 4 team, and okay, now we got to figure out, how do we race championship level every week? Yep. Can you find that gear that you found at Homestead not being motivated? That's what we're going to find out about Tyler Reddick when we get to this championship race. Can Tyler Reddick find the gear that he had at Homestead and motivate himself to find those last 8 laps, every lap at Phoenix?
I mean, we're talking about the regular season champions in the 45.
Got the speed.
They punched their way into Phoenix championship round. Now, and it's good for them, because Martinsville is not one of his better racetracks. That would have been a really tough task for them to win there. So it's really good for him. And now they can just lock into Phoenix and relax a little bit. And I'm sure MJ's kicked back with a big cigar down in Miami. Like, boys, we got this one licked here.
You texted Tyler asking if he was...
I asked him, so right before the victory lap, we're sitting in the makeup room, and I'm watching on the screen, and I text Tyler. I said, "Are you still drunk?" And he's like,
"That's when he said to you, no, Mamba."
He's like, "No, Mamba." I was like, "You should be here in Miami." But
that's right.
No, I was super happy for him. It was like a buzzer beater. Last lap, last corner.
It was awesome.
I think he was surprised that lane was open.
Guaranteed. And like, I hate that for RB, because he put together such a great race. I do. I hate it, because that like that's the last way you want to lose.
Yeah.
You really don't want, like, someone just blowing your doors off around the top. Like, that's
I'd really love to hear, and shame on me for not going back and listening to the radio transmission, as to what the explanation of
why the choice
setting
was.
up that last lap. I heard his explanation after the race, but I just, with all the time and that Reddick had made, it was all against the top, and anything that you can do to dirty that air up. I know Ryan took the lead and did everything that he needed to do on the bottom, but that was a totally different scenario with what was happening with Reddick, because he was just, his only chance was up against the fence and ripping the fence, and especially in 3 and 4. I honestly think, and I'm Monday morning quarterback, I honestly think that you get into that top lane in front of Reddick in 3 and 4. I just, I don't know that he's not able to do what he did, and I think that he's going into Reddick's going to go into the corner hard enough, whether you give him the top or the bottom or whatever lane you get him. He's going to slide job you, and he's going to drive in the corner, and he's going to do whatever you can. So at that point, you just got to make sure you don't get hit and drive back under him. But in this scenario. He just drove around him and didn't have to battle anything.
Yeah.
Ryan Blaney's saying after the race, he'll probably be thinking about that one for a while and what he could have done differently in that moment. So another interesting part of this whole thing is Denny Hamlin is the team owner, right, for Tyler Reddick in that group. He's on the outside looking in. They didn't ask him about that on the broadcast, which I thought was interesting about the fact that he just had a car make it to the championship 4. But what do you think that dynamic is like for him? Because he's not in it, but at least his team is advancing, and he seemed very dejected after the race, I thought.
Yeah, I went back and listened to some of his post-race interviews, and he was, I think he knows that they're slipping away. And, I think for him, and he said it, there's no good emotions yet about anything that happened with Tyler Reddick, which shows me the determination that he had from the driver's seat, and he just hadn't got to the point of being happy for Tyler yet. He will get to that during the week, I'm sure, to be able to be happy for his team and his driver. But he knows now that the task is getting tougher, and he's running out of opportunities. Now, they did run better than I thought they would. I
Had
will
them fighting that dog.
he had a real shot to go out and win the race. So he did exceed my expectations from a performance standpoint. They did a great job on pit road. They called a good race. He drove a good race. It came down to a scenario that didn't fit what his car was strong at doing, and that was a short run.
Yeah.
So still had a shot. I still think they'll be tough. They'll be tough at Martinsville, but so will Kyle Larson and William Byron and Ryan
Chase
Blaney,
Elliott, right.
and
Yeah.
Chase Elliott.
It's going to be such a good race.
It's going to be
I can't wait.
fantastic. And I think for me being able to watch this from the outside looking in, I see why people like it, and I understand why the competitors don't like it.
Yeah.
Just because it's so stressful and so difficult, and
Right.
sometimes seems a little bit unfair. But I mean, it's like a soap opera.
Yeah. So
I haven't watched many soap operas since I was a kid. But
Days of our lives.
it seems it's just like this, like you can't predict anything that's happening.
Yeah. So from your standpoint now that you've been able to see this for the first time, what is your take just off the top? You're like, because you just said you kind of understand it now. Like take
I
this
understand
a little
why it's
deeper.
exciting.
Yeah.
But I think for the viewer that just that intense unknown of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody had Kyle Larson getting a flat tire and hitting the wall and having to come from the back of the pack, having a chance to win, spinning out and doing all the things that he did, or, is Denny Hamlin, is he actually done? And then showing up and having a chance to win the race. And you go back and you look at Reddick flipping last week and then coming back this week and winning the race with that same bold strategy that he used and got himself in trouble with at Las Vegas. And, you go back to the beginning of the playoffs and you got 23-11 and front row suing NASCAR over the antitrust stuff and start the playoffs off with that. And Denny lays an egg and then. So there's just so
Doesn't
many of
stop.
these storylines that go week after week after week, and it just keeps your interest peaked at all times, and it makes you want to turn the race on, and it makes you want to watch every lap. And for me, it's been pretty exciting.
It has been. Everyone has to watch this weekend because that is going to be quite a
Silly not
spectacle.
to.
Yeah. Which you hit on a team that I want to talk about for a moment is Kyle Larson. You documented some of the issues that they had, but maybe the biggest thing that will stick out to people was when he was trying to make a move on Ryan Blaney. Austin Dillon was there. Kyle Larson ends up spinning out. What do you think about the choice he made to make the move when he did? And
Yeah, I think as you look at it, it's kind of the same conversation that we have about Reddick. Or it is the same conversation
it's the exact
we
same
have
thing.
about Reddick, right? Like it's these moments that bite him in the ass. They wind up sideways and having a chance to win. That you look at it, and for me, the way that I raced, I'd have been less aggressive in that scenario and been okay with taking the points, because you look at it, well, it could have been 6 or 7 points to the good. Now I'm 7 points to the bad. So, you try to balance, but there is no balance. Like there is no balance with Kyle Larson, right? Like that's what makes him great. Are these moments that he's just willing to just shove his car in there and take the chance and say, oh, that was, in my mind, that's what I thought he's telling himself. In my mind, I thought that was my opportunity to win the race because I'd spent 15 laps and not made any progress, and it didn't work out. And he's already over it. Like, you listen to him after the race, it's like, yeah, I thought that was my chance to win. Didn't work out. And I think that little bit of contact right there with the front tires, we've seen so many times the front end contact is what gets these cars out of the racetrack. I wish that Austin Dillon and his team would have had the awareness to just get out of the way and let the leaders race. But that's not what happened. And I don't think he did anything wrong. But sometimes when you get in these scenarios, some of that self-awareness can just be get out of the way. I'm getting lapped, and let these guys that are racing for a championship in a spot and the lead. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. He definitely made it interesting sitting there.
It was wild.
He made it entertaining being there. And I think, you just talked about it. Like, Kyle, you can't take that out of Kyle Larson.
No.
And you can't take it out of Tyler Reddick. Like, if you're stoked about Reddick doing what he just did, then you got to be okay with what happened at Vegas. Because it's essentially the same thought process.
Yeah.
This is what I had to do to give myself the best chance to win or whatever. Now, granted, when Reddick did it, it was early on in the race of Vegas. This is late. I think that Kyle just saw where he was going to kind of catch maybe Ryan by surprise, get to the top, and then be able to shoot around and say, see you later. And it just didn't work out that way. And then Reddick's like, thanks, buddy, because it worked out fine for them, But that's entertaining. I love it. It makes it so much fun.
And I think it's a classic example of what it takes to be good in this type of scenario, because let's flip it over to Chase Elliott, right? I look at more as how I would race as far as not taking those types of chances and things. But I think that we've talked about this on here as well. And we tell this to our clients and people that we help. You have to err to the side of being too aggressive with this car, because there's just those moments that it takes to get control of the race or get the lead or whatever it is. And you have to be willing to do what Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick did. Because when you look at Chase Elliott not taking those chances like a Tyler Reddick or a Kyle Larson, he doesn't reap the benefits of the things that they are. And it's just, it's the moments that you don't see that are racing for the lead that these guys are taking the exact same chances during the race that gain them massive amounts of positions or points or whatever the scenario is because of the risk that they take. Yeah, it probably balances out, but the risk that you take to win those races also gains you more than it does when you wreck every once in a while.
It's like Odell Beckham Jr., who does one-handed catches all the time, and you see it, and you're like, why did he try it? And he drops it. He's like, why did you try to do that? Well, you don't see him practice and throughout every game. Like, that's all he's doing. He does that all the time. It's the same thing. It's not like they're just trying this for the first time.
Yeah, but when you look at the difference between, now, granted, I think Chase Elliott has been more aggressive this year than
he definitely has
than we've seen in the past, but he's in my opinion, he's my generation's style of racer.
Yep.
And the lower risk, more calculated, take the points and all those things. And it's just, it's that evolution of what's happening with the sport to that fuck it mentality of let's go for it.
Let's go for it. So Kyle Larson obviously has his talent level, but I thought the team as a whole really made something out of that day. Because at one point he was running 35th. Then they kept making the adjustments based on what Kyle was saying that he needed. Then he's running up into the top 3.
Yeah, we heard Kyle, complaining about his car. And,
back in
and just, when you get back in the pack like that, the car just acts different. It's out of the racetrack more. It doesn't handle the same. The closer to the front you get, the faster you go, the faster your lap times are, the better the car handles. Everything just gets better every time you pass a car. And he was frustrated with the way that his car was driving and the things that were happening. They felt like the diffuser strakes had been ground off. There's nothing that they could do about that, but they figured it out. And he found something that worked for him. He was able to make time. He was able to make lap time and get himself back towards the front and look like he had a chance to win the race. And we're seeing him with his flat right front tire right here get into the wall, and that's really what started the problem. So as a driver, you get more and more frustrated every week that goes by in these playoffs, especially when you start to have problems and things start to not go your way. But you gotta love them. Those guys that just kind of throw caution to the wind, and even the Denny Hamlins, right? Like I would consider him more of my generation of racer with the points and solid finishes and things like that. But you don't get as much, and I think that's the flip side that we see when it doesn't go their way, like it didn't go Kyle Larson's way. It kind of bites him.
Denny has a little. He's kind of like that. I feel like in this playoffs, I've seen a lot of that. I feel like when he's up front though, he's like the aggressor. Like he controls from the front very well. And I see him and like Logano. Like this week, watching him race the 9, them both have that fight, that dog
that was
fight
awesome.
mentality. I'm like, this is it.
This is
This is the guy that we've been waiting to see, and seeing Chase with that too. That's how he won Texas.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's what you got to be for 26 races before the playoffs, and then all 10.
Yeah.
You know,
You have to be willing in today's world to just completely yard sell it and get out, and it's fine.
Mhm.
Went for
It's
it.
fine.
Yeah,
I think
it's fine.
we can all agree that this past weekend was one of the best events of the year that we have seen so far. Now we were going on to the elimination race. This will be one of the most important races of the whole season.
They're all important, Kate.
They're all important. You're right,
Nothing matters
Kevin.
except this one now.
Martinsville, this is not an easy place. So what are teams and drivers up against? Like, take us into the mentality of the driver and the whole team when you're one of the ones who's below the line.
Yeah, and for me, Martinsville was always miserable this time of year. It's just because it wasn't our strong suit. And that's really where I felt like Tyler Reddick was if he didn't win Homestead or Vegas, was you're in big trouble when you go to Martinsville if you need a solid day, because you just never know when you get there. And Martinsville is just one of those places that when you show up, it just seems to be a little bit different than it was the time before. And what you did the time before usually doesn't work the next time. And you have to I never was good at it. And I think that the Hendrick bunch is good at it. Gibbs has even been hit or miss. You add in the tire option and everything that goes along with the weekend, cooler than the first race there. There are elements of this weekend that will be different than the first race. And the first race was different because of the tire and the diffuser being gone and everything with the short track package. And so they'll have their arms wrapped around it a little bit more. But there are more variables this time. So I don't know that you can point to a Hendrick or a Gibbs or one organization and say, okay, they're going to be good. Now, if we go off of history, we can point to Hendrick and we can point to Gibbs. But Blaney did win there last year at the end of the year. So I think it's really a crapshoot as to who's going to hit it. You don't have a lot of time to figure it out. And I think that anybody could hit it this weekend. In the way that all these guys ran this last week at Homestead, I mean, I love it, because when they're all just all in like that and they're covering all the details from the driver's seat, from the team standpoint, from the crew chief standpoint, it just gets more and more intense. But they get better and better and better because they're all just on that edge of just pushing everything. And this is going to be another one of those weekends.
If you do not qualify in the top 15, it is going to be a long day.
Yeah.
Like, you got to start off the truck good and get yourself in a position to not be behind, because it doesn't take long to go down a lap. And especially if you're struggling with the handling of your race car, you're going to go down a lap real quick. So it's going to be wild. Obviously, Ryan was able to do it there last year, so now they got to do it again. He seemed pretty confident about being able to do it.
Come on, I didn't see anything confident.
He felt pretty confident.
I didn't see anything confident after that.
I'm confident,
After
and I
that
gotta
interview,
be, because this is my pick.
I think he'll be confident by the time we get to Martinsville. But let's be honest, there was nothing confident from him and Denny Hamlin after the race.
Listen. I gotta, that's
dejected.
Down and
it
out,
was not great,
Yeah.
but
as they should be.
As they should be. But I feel like when they get there, they'll be ready to go.
I agree.
The 24, William Byron, they're going to be ready to go. I'm a little worried about Larson. I've never really seen him be great there. I feel like this is one of those tracks that he's not great at. So, but he is the best driver on the planet. So I would never count him out. And then you got Denny Hamlin, your guy.
We got to go into each of these guys individually. You're blowing through them here. I want to focus on each one a little bit.
Hey.
Denny Hamlin's chances, 5-time winner there, but different car.
Yeah.
Sometimes the old stats don't stand.
They don't, but he has been good in this car too at times, more than not with this particular car. I think he can still point his way in. There's going to be somebody that goes on points.
No matter what.
There's going to be somebody that goes on points. So I still think that he can point his way in, but I think it starts. You're right. It does start in qualifying. You're not right a lot, but you are right.
Give me that.
You are right.
Give me that one.
In this particular situation, qualifying will be important because of that first stage and the points that go with everything. I think you're going to have to score points. I think Christopher Bell is pretty safe. But I think Denny Hamlin's point situation, I think he could. I don't really know. I think they could go there and dominate. I think they could go there and be mediocre. None of it would surprise me if he went and laid an egg, or if he went and dominated the race. Neither one would surprise me at this particular point. So I think it's a virtual crapshoot at this point as to who's gonna hit it.
You need to pull up the points.
You referenced William Byron. I want to talk about him for a second. He's 7 up right now, which is not much. But he had a very quiet race last week, did what he was supposed to do. He didn't qualify well, but he got to the front pretty quickly. He got into the mix at least. So I imagine the confidence is high for them based on what they did in the spring. But it's just, you're giving me that look like you just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think that they've been doing all the right things at this portion of the playoffs. So I feel like momentum is a real thing. We've talked about it here before. Momentum's a real thing. They're 7 to the good. So they got a little bit, I wouldn't say to play with, but they have a little bit of air that they can have. But it's not very much. And because those guys below, if anyone wins the race, then that 7 points means squat.
It's the worst position to be in.
Yeah.
William Byron's in the worst position to be in because he's got that points cushion, and all the other guys are like Bell is, he's feeling pretty good about it, and everybody behind him feels like they need to win. I mean, for the most part, and I think that being able to say, okay, well, I can kind of protect the points. We know somebody's going to protect in the points, but if somebody else wins, Christopher Bell is going to be the guy that gets the points, and so you've got all this confusion in your head about what you should be doing as far as. I think you have to figure out how to put yourself in a position to just go there and say, I need to go win. I need to go win because the rest of it can be confusing. But even if you say you're going to go win, you still got to kind of think about the points. You don't have a choice because there is still the one guy. So that balance mentally is very difficult as we go into this particular week of trying to balance the points and take that mentality of I need to go win the race because if I don't, somebody else is going to. Yep. So this is a tough scenario, and our interview this week is with Jeff Gordon, and so he's already been in the chair. So I'll give you a little insight into that Thursday conversation of just, at one point it wouldn't have surprised me if we saw all 4 Hendrick cars in the final
the final four,
right? Or for sure in this round. It didn't go that way. We had the penalty with the 48, which he was, I thought they handled it well, and they just made a mistake. But the question that I asked is, how do you handle William Byron and Kyle Larson and their teams this week? Because we have seen them separated. Some of the organizations say, they're on their own, they're racing each other this week. That's not the case. He really feels like that they'll work harder to find something from the other as far as something that would help that particular team to be better, whether it's the 5 or the 24. So I think it's
and the 9
and the 9. So I mean, you got 3 of your 4 cars in there. Yeah. But there's a possibility you could have 0 Hendrick cars.
Yeah.
It could work out that way. But somebody's gonna have to step up this week and be that dog.
Be that dog.
You got to be that dog to go out there and win the race. And so it's there's a lot of variables that go into this weekend, but anybody on this list can win except for Tyler Reddick and Joey Logano.
What do you say? We talked about it a little bit off camera. Do you think 2 or 1 Hendrick car goes to?
Oh my God. It's a tough deal. I'm looking at. I don't even know right now. I'm looking at the 20, and like a lot of that is based off of the 20. Like if the 20 lays an egg and they struggle or they break something early, and that points cushion goes away, that just throws everything up in the air. And then they could have 2. But the way it lays out right now, if the 20 just does a mediocre job, if Bell is mediocre,
all signs kind of have in the past have pointed to somewhat
that.
Mediocre,
right? So if he just stays where he's been averaging out at Martinsville, they'll make their way in via points. And then that means only one more guy can win. You know what I mean? You're not going to knock him all the way out. He has to struggle and like be bad for them both to make it.
Yeah.
It's the only way that they can have 2 Hendrick cars in.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, it looks like 1 Hendrick car, which I would have bet against that. I would have bet against that week after week after week after week up until
right now.
Right.
Because of, the racetracks that we were going to, the performance that they had all year, and it's just hard to make it all line up.
So you said 1 car. Who do you think it would be then? Best shot?
I mean, based upon past history, I would predict that Byron outruns Larson.
Oh,
That based
At
upon
Martinsville.
past Martinsville history, but these are not normal moments.
right.
These are not normal moments where guys can step up and teams can step up and you can put all that past history behind you. So, but if I had to pick, I would pick the 24 over the 5.
I don't need you to be great all year, right? I need you to be great in this moment. Like if you've sucked here for the last 10 times we've been, cool. I just need you to be great right now. That's it.
Okay, so if you're picking William Byron, that's who's currently above. So I'm going to ask this. Of the 4 below, who's the best shot to get above it? What would you say?
The best shot to win this race, I think, is Ryan Blaney.
Okay, this is your chance to talk about him as much as you want.
No. I mean, I've been talking about him all year. I think everyone knows where I stand on this situation, and he's my championship pick. And I really thought that he was going to win Homestead. I thought that was going to be it. And I wouldn't even have to talk about Martinsville. And it just wasn't. And now he's got to go show everyone why he's
done it before.
Yeah, and I would, if I had to pick, I'm going to pick the 9.
Oh, I like this. Okay.
And here's why. I mean, the speed that they've showed a couple flashes of speed in leading laps. And you talk about that aggression that he had. I think he's getting tired of hearing about it. I truly do. I truly think that Chase Elliott is getting tired of hearing about everybody else being aggressive. And I think he's just finally getting to that point where it's like, I'm going to show you. And I'm going to push people around. I'm going to do what I have to do. And he's gone to Martinsville and had that speed and had that ability to dominate a race. And I just think that I think he's getting tired of hearing about Kyle Larson and everybody else around him and just knowing that next gen mentality that you have to have with that over aggressive attitude. I don't know. I feel like after watching Homestead that he has that ability. I don't know if it happens. Everything we do on here is a guess, and most of them have not been good.
I might have not been good.
But you know, you see different sides of all these guys when we get to this time of year, and we saw it out of Tyler Reddick. And I see some of those flashes out of Chase over the last few races.
So you're saying Chase. So does that mean Denny is pointing his way in? Because he's your championship pick.
Look, I'm going to be honest, right? Like I think unless he goes out and wins the race and dominates, I just don't think that he's going to.
That Denny will make it.
I think he's going to have a hard time making it.
Okay, so
yeah, I mean, if it works out, my pick works out. You know, then,
okay.
my initial gut reaction was right, but man, there hasn't been up until Homestead.
Right,
there hasn't been a race in the championship 8 races that we've seen that I've said Denny Hamlin is going to go win the championship. That have screamed, I'm going to go win this championship until we got to Homestead, right? Like he was in the mix and around and leading laps and being aggressive and pit crew was on it and everything was going good. That's the first time that we've seen it in those 8 races.
See, I go down with the ship. Kevin's kind of gave his
He's
life
trying to get off on us. Yeah.
My ship's been dragging me along with the rope, right? Like I've been on
the anchor.
I've been on the anchor, dragging at the bottom, looking to dodge all the rocks.
Trying to get some air.
Yeah. I've tried to come up for air, but I've been hit by a few rocks along the way.
Well, you know, just listening to you guys talk, it is going to be so interesting to see all of this unfold because only 4 can go.
Yep.
So I can't wait for it. It's going to be good stuff. And I can't wait for your social sips today.
Hold
Mamba.
on. Time out. And you know, the one thing that I did have on my card that we didn't talk about?
What?
Let's not forget about that engine penalty if it comes down to points.
Oh,
how much was that again, Kevin? How much was that?
It was 10 playoff points, and I think it was 70.
75.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So
I mean, as
could
tight
rear
as
its
the
head,
points are going to come down to, and as close as Denny, man, that would suck.
I mean, 10 playoff points. So 10 playoff points. He's 18 back right now.
Yes.
Right? He's 18 back right now. So 10 would only have him 8 back right now.
Yep.
Well,
not great.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to give you that reminder.
Yeah,
I had forgotten that.
Hey, America, you know what time it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for Mamba's social sips, and I'm excited about today. You know why? Because I'm going to start off with our boy.
We're in our pajamas.
Well, one, I'm in my pajamas, and I get to go to work like this. This has actually been the most comfortable I've been this whole year. I'm starting with Bob Pockris.
Ooh.
So Bobby P. Bob has a oral history of championship seasons. It's going to be available right now on foxsports.com. Kevin is on there. Jeff Gordon's on there. I think Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart, Chase
Nice.
Elliott, maybe a couple other guys. Basically, Bob went and talked to a bunch of you guys about your championship runs. What made it great? What were some things that you struggled in it? How was that conversation with Bob?
It was good. All Bob conversations are good. But, it's like we talked about a little bit about earlier. It puts you to these levels of intensity and preparation, and there is nothing more thrilling than being able to succeed in those moments when your back's against the wall. You only have one way out, and being able to succeed in those moments is so gratifying. And being able to race for guys that hadn't been in that position and see their excitement level that goes with that there's nothing better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We all got to witness it firsthand. We were
Yeah.
all there.
Yeah.
See you win.
Yeah, and I appreciate
It's
that
pretty amazing.
championship ring that
Yeah.
is sitting
Yeah.
on the mantle.
Ooh, yeah. You
Yeah,
should
that
have brought it. You should wear it next week.
I am. Oh, yeah. I am.
Yeah.
Next week. There's moments when you wear the championship ring.
That's
It's like
the time.
banquets and like time like that.
That's
So
right.
I'm excited to put that thing back on. So make sure you check that out, foxsports.com. Now we're moving into your son. We're going to
Uh-oh.
Keelan. So Keelan has been crushing it all year. He's won a lot of races. I don't know how
Yes.
many he's won. He probably doesn't know either. When we went to Dominion at the beginning of the year, when I rode up with Kevin and Keelan and we went and watched him race, it was not great. It was
Nope.
not a good run
Oh,
at the beginning of the year in the spring. We go back for the Legend Car Nationals, and Keelan wins the whole dang thing, which was great. I'm super proud of him for what he did, and he just dominated. Now, the part that was a little bit suspect was what the car looked like in tech, which
what in the world?
it
Yeah.
looked like just a bare chassis for the most part.
We had already started putting it back together at that
Okay.
particular point. So they took the seat out of it. They wanted to make sure there was no lead in the bottom of the seat. Took all the suspension off of it, measured there was nothing on
Is
it.
that normal?
That's the furthest that our car has been torn down. It's not abnormal.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it because you hear there's just so many people who are outside of our circle that don't understand the things that go into his car and so that car actually, I think it's a 2012 model, and that was the first car that we bought. We call it the Magic School Bus because it's we used it as his trainer car.
That's awesome.
But I like people to see that we're not doing anything outside of the box. We're trying to teach him correctly to go out and race correctly, and so when they do inspection like that, it really allows people that don't know us or aren't around us or race against us to understand that it's just. He's just going out there and driving a car.
Yeah.
And so, that part I appreciate. I don't mind them tearing it all down. I wouldn't have minded if they were just taking it and
Could have kept it.
yeah, if they wanted to keep it, they could have it.
For Keelan, I think it's important because for kids to kind of go through these range of emotions and kind of learning and understanding of what things are going to be like when you make steps up, and success comes
Criticism.
I'm not going
That's
to call them
right.
haters, but criticism.
Criticism.
And
Which
then
is
you show
fine.
them, which is fine.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
a
And I
compliment.
think that, that was he spent the majority of the year he spent the whole year in the Young Lions class. So now he gets to start over. He's gonna get his little going away present, and now he gets to go to pro and get his teeth knocked back in.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
We start out at the top of one mountain, is the bottom of the next.
That's right.
All right. Speaking of the bottom of the mountain, Haas F1 is kind of there-ish with their program, but they might be getting some help.
Did you say top of the mountain?
No, they're bottom.
Bottom of the mountain.
Bottom.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say bottom because they do have some good runs here and there, but they're
Yeah.
not consistently like up towards the top. But they might be getting some help. It seems like Toyota has made a partnership with them, a technical alliance that's gonna help with their development of drivers and parts and like how to make stuff better. So they're not coming fully in, but they're gonna be a part of their program, which is interesting because they're with Ferrari. So that's interesting being able to maneuver those two relationships. But the thing that I look at the most is how it affects their NASCAR program. And I'm interested to see how that works. Do you think that there'll be any effect on the NASCAR program? Or do you think that it'll just kind of run on its own?
That'll be interesting. I think their NASCAR program is going to be very dependent upon how it runs.
Yeah.
We see Toyota with Legacy and 2311 and Joe Gibbs. So it seems like, they've got what 2, 4, 8, maybe going
maybe
to
9.
maybe 9. So, I think that is, that's an interesting conversation as to where they are. And I'll be quite honest, I have no idea what brand even is Haas next year.
It's supposed to be Ford.
It's going to be Ford. Okay.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah. And so all that Ford partnership, the way I understand it, is down a tier because Front Row is now on the A tier of getting all the technical alliances and things like that. But surely it opens up the conversations, and it'll be interesting to see if it makes their F1 cars better or worse.
Yeah.
Because of the alliance that they've had with Ferrari and all the parts and pieces and things that go with that.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like they've made strides in making their cars faster. So. That'll be interesting to see where all that goes.
Usually there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah, and I think that if you're gonna have that alliance with one of your platforms of racing, surely that conversation has to be spoken about at some point.
Yeah, just not. So that's interesting. This is a little food for thought.
A little food for thought.
And then we're gonna end it here. We don't talk a whole lot about the Xfinity series and the Truck series that much, but every once in a while there's something great going on. Now AJ just won Vegas, so he's locked into Phoenix for the second time.
That was awesome.
That was great. And again, we've talked about how when he wins, how excited he is. And then
he
started 32nd in the Cup race and drove
Had a good
to
race.
the top 5.
Momentum's a real thing.
It's
Apparently.
a real thing.
is.
Yeah.
So
Sure
hopefully
is.
they ever put in a good one at Phoenix. But this is about Arrow.
I love this.
So Arrow is riding in this drift car
With a dog.
next to their little Frenchie, and AJ is operating this remote control car, and the dog seems to be loving it. Arrow seems to be
Unsure.
and definitely hanging on.
Arrow's like, what the hell's going on?
He's
here?
like, what is
why
that?
am I in
doing?
here?
That's a cool car, though. I
I'd
like
love
that
to
thing.
get one of those little cars. And
Yeah.
you think you could fit in that thing?
Me? I think so.
I'd love to control it and see how long we could.
Just
treat
have
it
a
like
weight limit.
We could. Yeah, we need a bigger one.
Maybe just a
bigger
touch
one.
bigger. I would honestly. I would let you drive the car.
Just-
So would
spin.
you ride one of those mechanical bulls and let me control it?
Yes, I would do that. That's
You would ride the bull.
you would do
Yeah,
it and
oh,
let
yeah.
him control
and
it.
let me control
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
Run it.
That
Yeah.
would
We
be
gotta- we
fun.
gotta run
Whiskey
that.
River,
We
they
gotta
got
do
one
that.
there.
We don't.
Have you
so
ridden
funny.
a mechanical bull?
I have, yeah.
Of
Have you?
course
That shouldn't surprise you guys.
We had our championship party and we had a mechanical
At Whiskey
bull.
River. Back
No,
in the day.
whatever the name of that bar is in Vegas.
In Vegas.
The country bar.
Oh,
That's where we had our championship party.
Okay.
I wasn't having it at the fluffy places.
Oh.
I love that.
So we went to the country bar and they had the mechanical bull. We had 2 or 3 broken wrists.
Did
Oh,
you ride it?
really?
No, God, no. Did you get hurt when you rode
I
the bull?
didn't. No, I mean, the guy was probably going
you
easy
sober?
on me. Not completely.
Okay.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way.
It
You've
was at
never
Whiskey
ridden
River.
one.
Yeah. Huh?
You've not done it.
No, I have, but not like maybe once.
Did you smash your face? What happened?
No. I'm a professional.
Kayla's in a fight with her mic.
Kayla about to smash your
almost
face.
just-
Like, no, I'm down. I would let you. I mean, yeah, we could. I would.
Okay, and just to be clear, because here we are sitting in
Oh boy.
Halloween costumes. Just to be clear, I am not riding the bull.
Okay.
Okay? I am
Put that-
controlling the bull.
put that edict
Okay,
out,
there is
yeah.
no conversation about me riding the bull.
Just 10 seconds, right?
You
8.
won't make it 10 seconds.
Isn't it 8?
8, right?
Like
Isn't
that's
it?
the goal?
You won't make it 8.
Okay.
You'll be lucky to get boom.
Yeah, we need to get a
Boom.
bull into an award show, and we can run this thing. I
Okay,
can run it in 2 weeks.
I'm sure we could get somebody to bring it here.
Dale probably still has his. Dale, bring yours over from Whiskey Warehouse.
Yeah.
Whiskey
I love that Arrow's little car has created this whole thing.
I'm down. I don't think Kevin
That's how we got to
understands.
this.
I'm an athlete. I can do this.
Oh my God, this is. And we've gone way off the rails. We've gone so far off the rails that Mamba has claimed he's an athlete. Here we are. Guy comes
we are.
limping into every show.
You must.
Old gimpy leg.
You must not have been at the kickball tournament.
As
You
soon
should
as
ask
the
people.
season ends, he'll be back in his walking boot, nursing a fracture in his foot.
the ladies, the sympathy love.
Oh,
You gotta get
man.
anywhere we
We
can
have to
get it.
stop.
Yeah, you know who else did that? Ted Bundy faked a leg injury.
Bundy.
So we don't do
Why do you know that? That's so random. Anyway, moving on to other real athletes like myself. Tyler Reddick's Burnout was awesome. It's pretty good. A lot of smoke. And the Burnouts this weekend was good because Austin Hill had a great one too. But I don't think, it was really windy, so the smoke was really clearing out quick. So
Yeah.
that was unfortunate. But this part was cool. We kind of parked it. What do
Yeah.
you think?
Well, I think that all these guys have become really good at burnouts, and I think when the smoke did clear out.
Cleared it clear quick.
Yeah.
So that's unfair.
Yeah, I went back to eating dinner at this point.
Look
So
at the wind on the flag.
Yeah.
Sunoco flag.
Yeah.
It's whipping.
I thought it was average. It
Solid.
was a good race. So I mean, its burnout was definitely not what
This was the best part.
Oh,
The
yeah.
celebration.
Yeah, honestly,
That's what we will
Little
all
boy did
remember.
it.
A little kid.
little kid.
I mean, I don't know, man. Those moments winning for Michael Jordan,
I can't even.
like every time
yeah.
you do it, it must just be like when
Top
he's-
of the world, right?
I don't know.
I just think he loves it. Like, I think he loves those moments and just being in those moments and being able to succeed in those moments and knowing what they felt. I can't imagine what it feels like owning that car and experiencing those moments with all the guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling that he just really enjoys those moments.
I really hope that stuff makes someone like Tom Brady, like, Michael's doing this. Look how much fun he's having. He got that competitive juice. I hope Tom, come on over.
Oh,
Yeah,
look what you're
stirring.
stirring up now.
I think, but I mean, just speculating here, but I think it would be very, very much of a great conversation to have if Michael, let's just say Tyler wins the championship and Michael accepts that championship trophy and that that awkward NASCAR handoff.
This is going to get very interesting.
It's gonna get very interesting.
We couldn't have scripted this any more better. Okay.
Better.
Good sips today. That was a big one. Okay.
Had a couple.
Had a couple beers, yeah. Time now to give our picks, who we believe will win out at Martinsville. Kevin gets to do the honors first. What do you say?
I'm going with the guy that I'm going to go with Chase Elliott.
I knew.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you
I'll go
go.
with Chase Elliott. I think he's just reaching the end of his wick as far as, the aggression level. And I just keep seeing it tick up a little bit. And with that aggression level, it keeps seeing the front of the pack. And we've led some laps now. And I just
Got a taste of it. Got a little taste.
well, I just, I think he's got it in him and they've done a great job. But I just think that style, like even for me, that style of racing with the next gen car is different. And it's just that mentality that goes with what you have to do is just different.
You'll make the fans very happy with that pick.
Oh.
I'm also going with a former champion. I bet you are as well. Ryan Blaney. I think he will be the guy this weekend.
Are you
Do
gonna
it 2 years
pick him?
in a row.
Are you gonna pick him?
You have to because he's
my
his champ
championship
pick.
I
I don't
don't
have to.
Well, he can't point in, I don't think.
I mean, he
well,
can.
38.
It'd be a lot. To
I mean,
do
are
that.
you sure you should pick him? Because
I know. I
there is a
understand.
little bit of
true.
that. There is a little bit of that.
You
that
could screw
what
it up for
Could be
him.
considered that Mamba jinx. I mean, I don't want to get in your head or anything, but it just seems that way.
I feel like,
My guy did win that I picked this week, but just saying.
yeah, I know. I feel like I have to.
Oh.
I feel like I have
You
to
may have
because
some
I
regret.
don't have a choice. Like I've been kind of trying not to,
Yeah.
but if he wins,
I just
when
feel
he
like-
wins, I'm
I
gonna
feel
be
like you should
insufferable
just-
on here
I feel
next
like we
week.
should just quit asking you, and you were just going, well, this
doesn't
week,
get a
Mama's
pick.
just going to go with the standard 12 pick.
Yeah.
You coming from the guy and the girl who picked the 5 and the 11 at least 15 times this season.
That's not true.
piece.
You know what is crazy though, as you look back to the beginning half of the year, and you look at just the dominance of the 5 and the 11,
Yeah.
and all that conversation that we had all summer and kind of towards the end of the playoffs, just thinking that. But I want you to thinking that they were still going to be the guys.
Yeah.
Think about the progression of the garage and
Yeah.
the 22 and the Fords and the other Chevrolets and the other all the gap that has been made up to all these other vehicles. Because like when you look at last week, I mean, I expected Kyle Larson to go there and be one of the guys and just they didn't have that speed.
Yeah.
Even when they didn't have their trouble, they didn't have the speed that they had at the beginning of the year. William Byron, they had speed and it's just sometimes when you get in that shop and you get to the beginning of the year and some teams hit it and some teams don't, but man, there are so many smart people in this garage that make up that gap and they take the pictures and the time and the effort and simulators and all the things that come with making up that gap to the other team. And here we are and with such a competitive landscape.
Yes, that's what makes it so interesting. And you referenced the victory lap with Tyler Reddick is out now. Jeff Gordon will be the Thursday episode. What was one thing that stood out to you the most from that interview?
We had a little bit of time to talk about some things from 01 and that kind of branched off into he and some of the relationships that he had with Dale. And I always find that stuff intriguing. Jeff and I are always kind of connected from that Atlanta race win, and just hearing his perspective on how the landscape changed and where it was with Dale before that was pretty interesting.
And we look forward to that. We were listening to it in the makeup room. Seems like a really good interview. Okay, everyone keep subscribing on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. And the closers, we will see all of you after Martinsville.